very few things that are as selfless as coming into law enforcement, into the corrections, coming to a sheriff's office in this day and age.
From the heart of the country in Douglas County, Kansas, this is View from 100, a behind-the-scenes look at law enforcement, community, and the stories that shape our county.
It's an honor and a privilege to serve not just the community, but my community. I mean, I was born and raised here.
Hosted by your sheriff, Jay Armbrister, bringing you insights from the badge and beyond.
All right, welcome back, folks. It's the next and newest episode of the View from 100 podcast. I'm your sheriff, Jay Armbrister. My badge number is 100, so therefore that's the name of this thing, is the View from my seat. And today we have one of the episodes that I actually had pictured in my head when we had talked about doing something like this. And it was because our whole goal here is to not only kind of talk about community resources, but also talk about what the sheriff's office does and a lot of the work that happens behind the scenes that community members, folks may not know about. This is going to wrap them both together, and it's something that I'm deeply proud of. This reentry unit that we're about to talk about is not my brainchild. It was here before I showed up, but I do believe it is probably one of the most creative, but also innovative and impactful things that we have going in the sheriff's office. So today we have. I'll let these ladies explain who they are first, but we're going to talk through the reentry program, and it's housed within our jail, and they work with folks who are incarcerated in jail and are hoping to, or are soon, or about to transition out into the real world. And their core work is to try to set those folks up for success and keep them from coming back to jail, which in the long run is best for everybody, the community and the sheriff's office and the person included. But their work is so multifaceted, and the breadth is so deep in that there's so much to do and so little time. So with all of that said, I'll quit talking about it. So we'll just start with introductions. Who are you? Where do you come from? Why are you here? Why do you stay? What's wrong with you? Things like that. And we'll start with you, Carrie.
Yeah, so my name is Carrie Neis. I am the reentry director out at the jail. I have been with the sheriff's office since 2019. Prior to Douglas County, I worked in probation over in Johnson County since about 2011. And so I have worked in the field of criminal justice for a few years now. So yeah.
What brought you to Douglas County from Johnson County?
So Johnson County, I did an internship with them while I was in college, and really liked it over there, but it never felt like home. And so part of coming to Douglas County is I've lived in Douglas County for 17, 18 years now. I grew up in the neighboring Franklin County.
Wellsville, right?
Yes.
The Wellsville area? Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And then moved up here when I got married to my husband, and we now have a family here.
Sure.
And it just feels like working at home and taking care of my community.
Sure. Okay. Very good. Very good. And you, who are you?
My name is Shelby, and I am a reentry case manager with the sheriff's office. I've been with the sheriff's office since the beginning of 2021. Similar to Carrie, I've worked in criminal justice since 2013 when I started at the Kansas Juvenile Correctional Complex, and spent some time in some different positions there and learning several different job skills and stuff. And then my ultimate position was corrections counselor, which was similar to like a reentry standpoint, but jail-based, prison-based, facility-based. And so it kind of felt like your hands were tied in the work that you could do and how you could help other people. So when the position came open for Douglas County, I applied and have loved it ever since, just because it's creative in what we do, and we actually get to go about in the community and see the impact that we make.
Sure. So when you were doing the corrections work, was that in a prison? Okay. And was it an adult or juvenile?
Juvenile.
Okay.
The Kansas juvenile prison. So the only juvenile prison for the state.
Sure.
It housed both males and females. So different population. They were sentenced there, stayed there, did their time there. So I was limited in the work that I could do for their release and trying to help them. So,
Okay. And that's in Topeka, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, where are you from?
I am originally from Emporia.
E-Town. Yeah, it's a cool town. I like it. I like Emporia.
There's not much there.
But I've had fun every time I've been there, so there's something.
Yes. And then I did an internship with Lyon County Probation while I was in college, and then decided really that was probably my calling, that I wanted to stay in the criminal justice field.
Sure.
Tossed around the idea of law school.
Right.
Ended up moving to Topeka and was like, okay, I'm not going back to school. So I started at the juvenile facility.
Okay. So did you get a degree at Emporia? Or?
I did.
Okay, so you're a Hornet. Stingers up. I just learned that like a year ago, so I use it every chance I get. So kind of talk through the basics, but then, I take that back. Let's go back. No. I lied. We're on the fly here. We're going to do this. So talk to me about the basics. What is it that a typical day looks like? What does a typical client looks like? But then also talk about, everything from getting people shoes to walk out the door with to birth certificates and apartments and work and that kind of stuff. So what's kind of a typical, what's your job description?
Yeah, so as a case manager with Reentry, like you said, it can be somebody simply was arrested in a bikini and has no clothes to wear out the door, to a person needs to return home to Georgia to their family because they got here and Lawrence wasn't exactly what they had envisioned.
The pamphlet lied.
Right. So it can look like a lot of different things. When a person's in custody, usually that never improves their situation too much. They're going to leave custody not in the greatest shape.
Sure.
So a lot of barriers evolve as you are in custody. It can look like housing, mental health, substance use, sober living, a lot of different things.
Sure.
So case managers wear a lot of different hats, anywhere from assessing people for specialty courts. We have two case managers that one works in drug court and one works with behavioral health court. We have a MAP program
which are specialty courts where, and I got in trouble by my mother and my mother-in-law that I was speaking in acronyms and I was talking about things that only I knew about because I deal with it. So the specialty courts are, there's drug court, there's behavioral health court, and we're working on a veterans court. But those are specialized courts where you've been charged with a crime, where you would normally stay in the regular criminal justice system, but you've met a series of criteria or guidelines that can move your case out into the specialty court, which goes in front of a particular prosecutor, a particular defense typically, and a very particular judge that only handles those cases. And you can have a different outcome where your charges can be handled in a different way if you basically are willing to be part of the program. So, okay. So,
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we also have a MAP program at the jail that's medicated assisted treatment.
Right.
It is geared towards alcohol use and opiate use disorder. So essentially you can get put on medication while you're in custody. We get you linked up with treatment options, and then we can release you into the community, and we have programming and funding that can pay for those injections, which are super expensive.
And painful.
Yep. But the success that we have seen from that for our folks has been incredible.
Sure.
Long-term sobriety, long-term success.
Right.
We have one gentleman I can think of off the top of my head who just graduated with a 4-year degree.
No, nice.
Who started with us several years ago in the MAP program through Reentry.
Sure.
So,
and the MAP program, to speak specifically about the injection, it basically has to be kept very cold, so it comes out, I was told, basically like peanut butter, which is what makes it very difficult and very painful. But also, we know so the word in the jail is that if you're going to get on the MAP program, this is going to be a painful journey physically, and of course just the recovery portion of it. But it's usually by the time that somebody is ready to be better, and they're ready to put themselves in a position to be better by sacrificing some comforts, that when they're ready to do that, we kind of know we have them ready or bought in and ready to go. So it by design, it's just the way it is, but it also helps kind of get people to the point where they're like, yeah, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to like give it all up to do it. So it's a unique, and that's only been going on for what, 3-4 years?
Three solid years.
Sure. Okay.
Our first year we got started, and then our second year we had 97 injections that we gave for the year. Last year I think we did somewhere around 40-ish injections.
Sure.
But we had a lot more inductions while we were in custody. So you want to expose the inmate to the medication when they're in custody. So sometimes we see people get exposed to it, say, not really for me, but then they come back and they're like, okay. Now I'm ready. Now I'm ready.
It's amazing what a little more reality can do. So
yeah.
And it doesn't just knock out their cravings. It actually makes it to where it'll make them physically sick. Like if they do the alcohol injection, like they can't drink, period.
No, that's not the injection that we use. Yeah.
Okay.
So you won't get drunk if you drink.
Oh, is that okay?
On it, but your body still ingests the alcohol, so there is risk that you could get alcohol poisoning.
For sure. Okay, so
with it.
so you can still take it in. It just doesn't give you the effect. Oh, okay.
Not for alcohol.
No.
Opioid is a different story.
Now, what does it do?
So if you have opioids in your system and you get the injection, it puts you into immediate withdrawal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, and opioid withdrawal is, I mean, obviously I don't know, but alcohol withdrawal will kill you. Opioid withdrawal is just as close to hell as some people. But I did learn also is that methamphetamine, you cannot die from methamphetamine withdrawal. I had no idea that. I was told that recently. I was like, wow, that's. But alcohol is the most dangerous for people to pass away from. So I don't even know where we were, but so that's kind of a typical day. But so obviously I know a lot of the answers to these questions, but I want to ask them anyways. Is there a minimum amount of time somebody has to be in custody for them to begin working with you?
No, not necessarily. We get people from a lot of different ways and places. So we offer programming in the jail. So our case managers, along with our program coordinator, teach groups in the jail during the week, during the day. So if somebody signs up to come to one of those groups, they get exposed to reentry that way. So they may self-refer and say, hey, I'd like to work with you guys. I'd like to hear what you guys have to offer.
Yeah.
We get referrals from attorneys a lot. Sometimes we have family members call in. Specialty courts. Anything else you can think of?
Anything. Like, honestly, they get referred in all sorts of ways.
Well, probably other incarcerated folks are like, hey, you need to talk to Shelby, or you need to get a hold of Carrie. They can help you with that.
Yeah.
So
we get that a lot.
So if somebody is just gets arrested on a Friday night and gets released on Sunday morning, like you said, if they don't have shoes to walk out the door, you all can step in and help them.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have to be there for 48 hours or for a full week. On the flip side, if you have somebody that's in for a year, doing a year, you have a full year of time to work with them and help them get prepared, so to speak.
Yeah. So one approach that our team is trained in is motivational interviewing, and so with that method, it's about client choice. So where are they at with their stage of change of what they want to do with themselves or with their life?
Yeah.
So we meet them where they're at. If we go to meet with them and say, hey, this is what we have to offer, and they say thanks, but get the hell away from my cell.
Yeah, that happens.
That's okay. We will leave them alone, but we still plant that seed, and we say this stuff is an option for you if that's something that you ever choose.
Sure.
So the motivational interviewing is just designed to give them the choice and move them along the continuum of change.
Sure.
So we use that in every interaction that we have with the inmates.
Sure.
I would also say, like, depending on, it can play a variable of length of stay, but also like some of the things that they want. So like if they only come in and they're just like, I just want housing referral, I just want shoes, hygiene, that sort of thing. That's more of just like reentry services that we provide. Whereas like case management, we go a little bit more in depth in the services and the things that we're working on. So we get referrals for both.
Sure. Okay. And if somebody says, all I need are these things, you don't try to push the other services onto them.
We do.
If you feel like they need them, but you're not gonna make these services dependent upon you doing this full basket of services.
Yeah.
So
No, we've seen several times where an inmate will come in and they say, all I want is hygiene in a backpack. Put it in my property.
yeah.
That's fine. We'll
Okay.
also put Shelby's card in there in hopes that maybe
If Shelby's not around, you put her card in there.
in hopes that maybe they will reach out, or maybe the next time that they come in, and we've seen that happen where the next time they come in, they're like, hey, remember that conversation we had? Well, let's talk about it now.
Yeah.
So,
And if you work with somebody for a significant amount of time and have them all set up for all of these things when they get out and they fail spectacularly and they end up back in jail, is there a waiting period or is there anything, or are they eligible for services right away?
yep, they're eligible again for services. Again, we'll kind of meet them where they're at. One of our, I guess, mottos is we're not going to work harder at it than they
Right.
are. And so sometimes it's an eye opener when you match the level of enthusiasm. When they're in custody, they want to work real hard. 'Cause,
Right, yeah.
but then once they get out and we never hear from them, that does get frustrating.
Sure,
So,
yeah. Or you have people who just want you to do all the work for them.
yes.
And that you can definitely start to weed out. Like,
Yeah.
I'd say like the biggest thing also is like every time they get booked in, meet with them, let them know who you are, let them know what's available. They may reject it.
Right.
I had an individual that I'd met with probably 10 plus times over a series of multiple different bookings. And eventually he came around and was like, hey, I want to work with reentry. But that's also the start of the rapport and just being a familiar
For
face.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I was a kid. I did dumb shit all the time, and it took several times for me to figure out that I didn't want to do that anymore, or I didn't like the consequences. And I think the point I'm trying to make is that we get it, that we have a failure rate because we only work with human beings, and they are going to fail, sometimes spectacularly. But we also know that there comes a time when they're in their life where they're like, I'm ready to be better. And those are the people that we are ready to invest our times and resources and money in. Because if we can keep somebody out of jail, and this is me being editorial, if we can keep somebody out of jail, it costs about a little over $230 a day to keep a human being inside our jail. And if we can keep them out for 30 days, I mean, that's a lot of money. So I'm more than happy to spend $60 on a new ID and birth certificate for somebody if it's going to save us thousands of dollars of them not coming back to jail because they simply don't have the ability to get an apartment, get a job, do these things. So that's it. You always have now this community not so much, but you always have people that say that jails should be more bars, more guards, more walls. That's all there is to it, and I don't see it that way. And luckily for me, this community, not only have the sheriffs before me agreed that we need to have these services, but the community has funded it. Our county commission has been very good about funding this. And last year we just got a new employee for your unit through our budget process. And for 5 years, coming up on my 5th year, I've had to fight every year to get certain new employees added to my budget. That's the only one that I didn't have to fight for because they know the importance of the work. And they're just like, absolutely, we want you to continue to be good at this and be a leader in the nation. So, where do you work?
Where do
Yeah,
I
like
work?
physically, where's your office?
Yeah. Physically, I am inside the jail on the 3rd floor in cell 309, I think,
It's
or 310.
not a cell, but it is numbered.
technically is a
Yeah,
cell.
Yeah, it used to be
Her
used.
office is better than mine.
Yes,
I'm in the
yes.
back corner.
Yes, and you were in the old learning lab or whatever we called it. So, well, the point I'm making is that you work inside the facility, in the secure facility, next to the jailers, the deputies, and all the other support staff. So you work side by side, hand in hand, in person with folks who are in custody. How has that been? As you know, and here's the part where I'm gonna sound probably sexist, but our reentry team is currently made of all females, and so I have a horrible habit of saying the reentry ladies, and that's not fair. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing for now and for the past, but I know that being female and working in the jail is got to be extremely intimidating and difficult. So how do you navigate that? How has that worked for you? And what has worked for you as far as making that? Because I want folks who are interested in this kind of work to know that there is a way to do this. I mean, we can never promise 1,000% safety because again, we're working with only humans. But how has it been for you all, for both of you?
Yeah, so it's going to sound odd, but I don't mind working in a jail. I feel fairly safe in our jail.
Yeah.
We have close relationships with all the deputies and COs and
That's a corrections officer.
And so I don't know. I mean, I feel like I feel like part of the family there.
Sure.
And
Oh, yeah.
they take care of us. We do what we can to make their jobs easier.
Yeah.
And, I will say, though, that working in a jail is not for everyone. So there are internships and there are opportunities to just kind of try it out.
Try it before you buy it.
Yeah. Because it's not for everyone. But if you enjoy it, then if it's your jam, then I think it'll work out good. So
Yeah. It's just getting over that first step, probably just getting in there and seeing what it's actually like. So, I mean, has that been kind of your experience as well?
Yeah. I came from a prison facility,
Sure.
so I was pretty used to like the security aspect, and I do feel safe in the Douglas County Jail. I think the response time is very quick, and I think that everybody has each other's back in
Sure.
all the situations. One of the other things that you have to get used to is I've never smelled so many different smells in a jail.
Oh my gosh.
And at one point,
It's unique.
It is. One point in my career, my grandma got to tour the Kansas Juvenile Correctional Complex, and she said the biggest adjustment was like hearing the doors slam
Sure.
behind. So that I've just kind of zoned out. I've been working there so long, but I do know that like that is hard for some
Yeah.
people to feel like as you're waiting in between those sally ports
Yep.
that you never know what could happen.
And I'm stuck.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will say, too, there's a level, I don't want to say a level of comfort, but we're there to help people. And knock on wood, I don't know if we have any wood in here, but we've never had any behavior issues per se. The inmate, everything with reentry is voluntary.
Sure.
So if they want to work with us, if they want to come to group and learn, if they want to engage, we're here for them.
Sure.
Nobody's ever forced to come. And so I think it's a little bit different when you're working with somebody
Sure.
who wants to engage with
Oh,
you
yeah.
too. So,
Yeah.
the inmates. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well,
We'll
maybe-
edit that.
Yeah. I have found, too, that if, especially among the inmate population, if there is a program or something that they are extremely interested in or they're trying to work through, and somebody else comes in and starts messing around with it or treating it with disrespect, they're usually the ones that'll square it up right away. It's not
100%.
It's not our job. That it doesn't usually get to that because they'll be like, hey, if you're not going to be here, if you don't want to be part of this, get out because I'm doing the work over here.
Yep.
And so I've found that to be pretty self-evident over the years that they police their own when it comes to that, especially if they're trying to invest themselves in something. So, but then to segue away from working inside the secure perimeter of the jails, you do a lot of work outside of the jail as well. So, and I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions is that once a person is released out into the community, that your work stops. But that is just not really the case. And
Right.
so, tell us, what does that look like? How does that work for you all? I mean, what do you have to do?
Yeah, so releasing into the community can look a lot of different ways. Sometimes an individual's already working with another community agency, and so we are more of a bridge to get them back
Sure.
to them. We try to do warm handoffs, so meeting together with the other case manager, making sure they're getting connected, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Our case managers, the ones that we're doing case management with, we follow them into the community, and they're meeting them in the community at McDonald's, Heartland,
Sure.
public places, we transport. When our case managers go out, they go out in pairs, and they transport people to doctors, job interviews, really anything
Right.
that you can imagine that would be a barrier. We help address.
Okay, so if I'm released, having been worked with you, and I'm on my own, but I find myself with no ride to court, is that something that they could call and be like, "Hey, Carrie, I just cannot get to court. I do not want to get a warrant. Is there something you can do?" That's something where you would work with getting them, find a way to get them to court.
100%.
Okay.
Whether it's us,
Yeah.
whether it's Uber,
Sure.
we can order them an Uber on the app and get them there.
Yep.
Communication with us is 100%.
Key. Yeah.
I was going to say, I have a scenario the other day that I had an individual that was at treatment, had a warrant issued while she was at treatment,
Yeah.
knew the day that she would be releasing from treatment, picked her up. We took her to the court, resolved that warrant,
Right.
and assisted her in getting into sober living. So usually they've communicated with us
Yeah.
long before that court process has taken place,
Sure.
and we're aware of how to make a plan in
Yeah.
place. But that's our biggest thing, is
Right.
being able to make a plan with them, right?
Yeah.
So I know for specifically going into the community, sometimes we meet them at Sober Living,
Yep.
Oxford, AHH,
Yep.
Cardinal House.
Oh, we're going to get to them. Don't be skipping ahead on me. But I think, and that's again another part of this entire system where there's misconceptions, but there's also just simple misunderstandings. Is and I, working in the jail for all those years, I saw it play out where I've been arrested in Olathe. For some sort of a theft charge. Well, then I'm in Lawrence 3 weeks later, and I get arrested up there for a stolen car. I go to jail in Lawrence, but while I'm in the Douglas County Jail, I miss my court date in Johnson County. So now a warrant will be waiting because we don't transfer people over to another county just to go to court. We just can't do it, and that county is not going to come and pick you up and take you back. So you end up with a warrant. So then you get released from Douglas County. Now you got to go to Johnson County. And while you're in Johnson County, you may miss your Douglas County. And so we'll have this where people will simply transfer back and forth. But what I've found is that the courts are extremely good about, just like with the scenario you were saying, is like, hey, Judge McCabria, I've got this person, she's getting out of sober living, but she has a warrant through your court. Can we set up a time on the 8th when she gets out that I could bring her and we can resolve this? And if you can get the attorneys involved and get everybody there, the courts have been amazing at making that happen because they don't want to ruin somebody's progress as well. And so I just don't think that that's actually how it works across the country all the time, because a lot of places are like, I issued a warrant, they missed it, she's going to have to wait and see me. Well, they just don't care. It feels like that. That's not what I've really found here in Douglas County as well. So I love this county, but it's just so different outside of here. And to hear, it's funny too. And this is me going off on a tangent, is that the rest of the state likes to make fun of Douglas County. They like to say, all the other sheriffs will be like, hey, how are things in woke Lawrence, and they'll say this crazy stuff to me about how we're just liberals and we're, whatever. But then a program like this will get up and moving, and we'll be able to show that we're keeping people out, that we're investing this money but saving this money. Next thing you know, they're coming back, it's like, how did you make that work? How did you get your commissioners on board with that? They watch what we do here because we really are, and I didn't realize until I became sheriff, but we are innovators in not just the Midwest, but pretty much in the country when it comes to a lot of these initiatives. Now, Reentry has really gained traction nationwide, but not many other places in the state are doing this. I mean, what is Sedgwick County probably has it. Johnson County has it. I don't know about Shawnee County. They probably have.
Johnson County has a version. Sedgwick County has something, and Shawnee County is working.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, but if you get out into Thomas County, Stanton County, Gray County, go
out west.
Yeah,
you're stuck.
You get west of Topeka. Really, honestly, I mean, it's hard to find because obviously they don't have the resources in a lot of those places or the staffing, but it's just there. It's very difficult for people to get out of the system out there without this kind of help. So, I think that the residents of Douglas County have really. I just don't think they know how good. Some of the people who do the work really are at what they do. So, and that's what I'm trying to tell them about. So through this, what do you see and as we talk about how great we are at these things, what do you see as the biggest gap or the biggest need in this system that you work within? Where do we need to be? If you had a squillion dollars and you could fix this problem, where would you invest that money today? Housing.
I have an answer.
Go ahead.
It's not housing.
Okay.
I would say give me more staff. Mainly because, we work in the community with so many different, we have a lot of great agencies in Douglas County, but Reentry is really good at what they do. We keep 5 housing vouchers, transitional housing vouchers. Keeping an individual housed is a full-time job.
Sure.
And we have 3 full-time case managers and 5 vouchers. And in the past 3 to 4 years, those 5 have been filled completely. And so it's a lot of work to keep someone housed. And I want to ask the housing authority for more vouchers, which I think they would maybe give us,
Right.
but I don't have the
Staff to
the
do it.
staff to
Sure.
support keeping people housed like that. So I think like I said, there's a lot of different agencies in the community doing the work.
Yeah.
I personally think we're the best at it. But we need more staff to do it. So
Yeah.
I would agree that we do need staff. Douglas County is unique, and like you've mentioned, about having the
are.
resources. And once somebody is motivated and they're wanting to make that change for themselves, the stars kind of just start to align, and those resources are available when they need it. The problem is sometimes when they use the resources and then they aren't available when they want to make that change.
Right.
So that's the hard part
Yeah. Yeah.
there's only so many limited
Sure.
resources.
And you got to strike while the iron's hot too. So, okay. Well, how are things? Because I know at one time transitional housing, so moving out of the jail without a place to go, was a problem. And we already mentioned Cardinal Housing Network now, but Artists Helping the Homeless, AHH. How has that really kind of filled or plugged a need or filled a gap in the system for you guys?
Yeah, so both of them work primarily exclusively with Reentry right now. So we have the ability to get interviews and get people plugged in there that are in the right space to accept the changes and kind of move forward with change in their lives. I will say too, we have a really good relationship with LCS, which is the Lawrence Community Shelter.
Yeah, and that hasn't always been that way.
It hasn't always been that way.
Yeah.
But they have been amazing in the fact that we have a couple shelter space beds that are always available to our team.
Yep.
We have a couple spaces out back in the Monarch Village. So, and those units are full right now. We have both of them filled. And then we also have some over at the Pallet Village.
Yeah.
And so we generally have options. It's whether or not the person has already burned those bridges.
Yeah.
And then we have to, kind of start from ground zero and advocate and, walk them through that. But
And once somebody has burned that bridge or has a trespass warning for let's just say for the Pallet Village, have they been? Is there a path to rescind that? I mean, do they?
Yes,
if they can show that, like, hey, that was me, but that's not me anymore, type thing.
Yep.
Okay.
So part of that relationship with LCS is we will start kind of baby steps, and we'll say, let's start them with a reentry bed at LCS.
Yeah.
Let's make it those 3 days with no issues.
Sure.
And then after that 3 days, then we go back and we advocate. Okay, everything went well. Can we do another week?
Yep.
And then maybe step to a pallet.
Sure.
But you kind of have to build that trust back up between that client and the community partner.
Yeah.
And we've had some success in doing that.
Good.
And the Monarch Village, that's kind of a new project for us, but it's going well. Some of our very, very hard to house individuals can live in those units out back. We treat them similar to our vouchers, where we're checking on them regularly, doing case management, but then looking for long-term options for them.
Right.
So the shelter community living isn't very conducive to them being successful.
That's
so you
tough,
can put them in a Monarch Village, a little more secluded.
They have their own space.
Yes. So each inmate, I would say, is different in what their needs kind of look like.
Yeah.
So we kind of have that option
Tailor-made.
now. Yeah.
Sure.
And I would say when we're referring to housing, it's case by case on the individual. Like
Right.
working with them, you kind of know what the best fit for them would be, or like where
Right.
they want to go. Like we've had individuals that are like, they have social anxiety and
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to go to an Oxford, and they would do better in like a one-on-one setting, like a pallet, but the pallet isn't for everyone.
Right.
So I would say it's case by case, but I will say that like we had an individual that had destroyed some property pretty significantly at LCS,
Mm-hmm.
and they were willing to sit down and meet with us and talk about a behavioral contract
Good.
and like what would be different, and they were willing to accept that person again.
For sure.
So that partnership looks a lot different than it did a few years ago. So
Yeah.
we're grateful for that.
Well, I mean, you can't be in corrections, probation, housing like that unless you're willing to talk through second and 19th chances. That's just how it goes sometimes. So, and I also wanted to back up too, because we talked about Artists Helping the Homeless and Cardinal Network, and for the folks who don't know what those are, it's a transition housing, and Cardinal Network is brand new, but it's going to be the exact same thing, only for females. But Artists Helping the Homeless was developed in Kansas City, Missouri, I believe. Carwu developed this, and a lot of people, it's a misnomer. They hear the term Artists Helping the Homeless and they think it's like art therapy or something. This is it's not, that's not right. But that's why they've gone to AHH, try to rebrand. But what it is it's transitional housing where you can leave jail and go to live in one of their homes. But you're going to be living in there with other folks who are transitioning out, but also basically it's a peer model where you're going to have other men living in the home with you that have made themselves, have made it through a program and are now living successfully, but they are still living there to make sure that the next generation comes through and learns what they need to learn to be successful. So, I'm a huge advocate for peer models, because I can stand in front of a room full of people and tell them how they need to live right and stay out of jail and do the good things, and they're not going to listen to me because I've never lived their life, and rightfully so. But you bring a person in who has done the work, has been there, seen that, and lived it, and is now being successful, they will listen to them. And so that's one of the things that I, as the sheriff, have really tried to invest our resources into propping up, is these transition peer-based housing situations. So that way, because to me, it's the only way to go. It's been extremely successful. We have a great partnership with Dustin and Carwu and the rest of the team, to the point where, Brandon Scrimshire, I remember Brandon from coming to work every day and feeding him, and now to see him out and engage with him on just a deeply personal level, like, hey, Brandon, how are you? How's this going? How's that going? It is really, really nice to see. So, I'm going to bring those dudes in, and we're going to talk about what they do someday. And Dustin's story is fantastic. So, what else do you think, if you could whisper into the minds of everybody in this community one thing or something that you think that they need to know and don't know about the work you do, what would that be? And I'm kind of putting you on a spot, but like I asked Stacy this, Under Sheriff Simmons, this same, and her answer was that we're not the national narrative. We're not what you see on the news. And what would that be when people think about people in jail and people getting out of jail? What is it that people need to know that you do that you don't think that they understand or think they should know?
Me personally, I think that everybody at the end of the day, we're all human. We are one chance or one decision away from making a bad decision.
Sure.
And you put stress and mental health and substances all on top of that. Anything could be the end result of that. So I always like to think of being the type of person that I would want in that situation, but also just being treated like a human, right?
Right.
We're just expecting the kindness from other people. And I used the analogy the other day, reentry is just kind of like we're going bowling. Reentry is the bumpers and they're just the ball, and we're just trying to help them make a strike, right?
Yeah.
We're guiding them. They're doing the work, and we're just kind of navigating what that process looks like for the best possible outcome.
Sounds to me like you're rodeo clowns. You're just kind of making sure that they don't fall off and get killed, It's but it's, I think that's a great way of looking at it too, is like they have to do the work ultimately, and you're just occupying the spaces around them and providing some resources to help make them be successful or help them to be successful for themselves. So
Yeah, I think a big thing also is like, can't do something you don't know how to do. So like
Yeah.
part of this is resources, part of this is learning, a connection to things to be able to get a different outcome.
for
like,
sure.
I don't play basketball. So
Right.
like unless somebody was going to go teach me how to
Yeah.
dunk and do a layup and
Yeah.
stuff like that, that's not something I would expect the first go around.
You're never going to dunk.
No,
just
Yeah.
you're
so you
not.
know.
Hey, lower it down
Yeah.
to like 4 foot and I got this.
So there's a great book, and it's by Oprah and a guy named Dr. Bruce Perry, and it's called What Happened to You, but it talks about childhood traumas. And this is, you just brought something to me, but we have people come to jail who have lived these chaotic, crazy, dysfunctional lives that me growing up in this beautiful family with means, and I know nothing about, but we take them and we arrest them and we bring them out of this chaotic, terrible situation. We put them in jail and we're like, okay, don't do this anymore, and then we send them right back out into that and we expect a different result. And that's not really their fault, because a lot of them don't know, And in that book about childhood trauma, they say that you cannot give what you did not receive. And if you were born into a home where neither of your parents could speak, you were raised not knowing how to speak. You may have the ability, but you don't know because nobody showed you how to do it. And it goes the same for love. If your parents didn't know how to love you and didn't show it to you, you don't know how to love to give it in return. And these folks, it's amazing how many folks just simply don't know how to pay rent or how to pay their bills or how to balance a budget or do these things. And it's not their fault. It's not because they didn't want to learn. They simply just were never given the opportunity. And these things that we take for granted, who were raised in a really, really good environment, it's just something I've always known. But they don't get that. And it's sometimes you got to walk it clear back to basics. Like, okay, on Tuesday you have to do this, and then on the first of the month you have to do this. And I think people kind of lose track because there's like, oh, these deadbeats don't even know how to do this. Yeah, they never learned. They just don't know. And how do we expect them to know that?
Yep. I have an individual that something as simple as getting housed in their first apartment for the first time and getting the keys and having to set up a Westar Energy account to log on.
Right.
That was like foreign.
Yeah.
And being able to even get that set up so
Sure.
that you had a service address to be able to use.
Right.
And that's just something we take for granted so easily.
Yeah.
And also I think sometimes we get frustrated, like I say we as the community
Mm-hmm.
get frustrated because they're like, they've had several opportunities, like how come they haven't learned kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's not that easy.
It's absolutely not that easy.
Yeah.
So another thing you said made me want to ask you a question. I want to see if your number matches my number in here. Of today, you walk into the jail, how many of the incarcerated people inside our jail are suffering from one of two things: mental illness struggles or addiction or both?
Every one of them.
Okay, thank you. That 100 is 100%.
Yes.
So I think that, rarely do you have somebody who spends any amount of time who is not suffering from one of those two things. And I think it's very difficult for people who don't suffer under those things to understand. And we talk about this during the reentry simulation, which we ought to circle back to. But we set up, these wonderful humans set up this simulation where you have to basically navigate the system of trying to figure out how to make money and make it to court and do all these things. But what we can't do during the simulation is give you an addiction and withdrawal. We cannot give you a severe and persistent mental illness that you have to carry with you through this, because it's really hard to go to court when you think that everybody is out to get you or that something is going to happen. And people are like, well, why won't you go to court? Well, you can't really explain that. So I think it just, as you say, it's not as easy as people seem to think. It's like all he's got to do is go to court. This dude cannot even get out of his sleeping bag because he thinks that something's terrible is going to happen to him.
Correct.
Yeah. So I wish we had a little more compassion sometimes and empathy for the folks who are struggling from things that don't show up on x-rays.
Well, and I think another thing is like we think that everything is instantaneous. So
Yeah.
like, I mean, Amazon Prime does come to my house in 2 days.
And I am, speaking of addictions.
But like, for example, one of the things that Reentry helps navigate is getting vital documents like
Right.
birth certificates,
Oh, sure.
social
Yeah.
security cards, that sort of thing. And I was tracking that and submitting them for a while. And there was an individual that was out of Oklahoma and New Jersey. I don't recommend having a child in New Jersey. I had to send my badge. I had to send a notarized letter. I had to explain what it's for and send all these documents as the case manager requesting this document for them. And it was 9 months to a year before we received those documents. There is nothing that you can do to get an ID, a job, or any like living without those vital documents.
Right.
And if I am having to jump through hoops to get it, imagine somebody else that's never had to deal with, you know, calling up an agency, waiting on the phone. Also, you have a barrier of like, some people don't know how to use a computer and everything is digitalized nowadays.
100%.
So like there's just the barriers on those that we just day in and day out don't think about that our people face every day.
Yeah. No, and I think it's amazing, and I certainly didn't know this, how handcuffed you become if you don't have your ID. And I mean, if you want to just get housing, a job, all these things, nothing. You can do nothing without this ID. And it's crazy that people it's crazy to think that I don't even know what they cost now, $23 or whatever to get an ID. That you could
$22.75.
$22.75 can stand between you and a successful life. And of course, and we gladly pay that money for these people, these folks who are trying to get out and make good on it. But the other thing is a system that we've had in place for a while is that a lot of folks, you know, you go to the DMV, which is painful for everybody. I think even the folks that work at the DMV don't like going to the DMV when they need their driver's license. And you have to have all of these things in order to get your ID. Even if you're already in the system, sometimes you have to have these things. And these folks are, again, born in these chaotic lives, and they don't have their birth certificate and all that stuff. We have set up a system in Douglas County to where if they've been booked in and you all need to get an ID that the DMV here will now accept our paperwork showing their true identity. It's not like we're trying to get a fake ID so they can buy beer when they get out, but they'll accept our paperwork because it's so hard sometimes. If you were born in New Jersey, you're just not going to have your stuff, you know. And so that's something too that I've just really felt like was really cool that we were able to set up the system, that you all were able to set up the system to get these people what they needed in a roundabout way. I mean, it's still totally legal and legit, but it's without all the red tape. And so, and the other thing is too, is like we've had people where we've had to buy multiple IDs where they get arrested, come to jail, we get out, get them an ID, and they come back to jail 3 days later and like, I lost my ID, you know, like, but we still do it because eventually they're going to put their skin in the game and they're going to be successful, and that ID may be the key piece that does it for them. So sorry, I'm just talking at you about things that you already know about. So
I wanted to mention one thing back on peers. We talked about the AHH model being peer-driven. Cardinal Housing Network, I think that's the direction that they're going in. I think it was in 2022, we introduced our first peer into the jail. So we have 3 now that are reentry, full circle candidates that have started with the reentry program.
I don't think people know what you mean by full circle. I think you should probably explain that a little further.
So these individuals were incarcerated in Douglas County.
Yep. So they were arrested and were living in our jail at some point.
Yep. Engaged with reentry in whatever form or fashion that looked like. Yep. And released, doing well, making good choices, and it has come full circle where they have now applied to become volunteers in the jail. They come in and teach alongside our case managers. We've trained them in several different programs. So they teach back to the inmates that are in custody
Yeah.
with our case managers.
They speak the language.
They speak the language.
You know, and it's been rare, but there are sheriffs who will be like, so you're telling me somebody who was in your jail as an inmate you're now letting them back in to meet with other inmates. Like, you're cool with that? You don't think they're up to no good? I'm like, absolutely. Do you think that's what they want to do? Like, they're to be nefarious, to try to smuggle in extra coffee or something? No. These people are coming in to give back to a system that helped them. And I am all for it. Now, something may happen down the road. Again, we are only dealing with human beings, but knock on wood, this has been extremely successful for us. And
I don't know of another jail in Kansas that allows it.
I don't either. Nope. And we're not going to quit anytime soon unless we absolutely have to. But I can't think of what that reason would be. So I thoroughly believe in it. And the folks that have come back and we've built these relationships with, not only is it great for the incarcerated individuals that are learning from them, it's really good for our staff too, to see the success stories, but also to learn from them. Like, they know what all the things that we don't know when we sit in there and work in a jail that are going on that we know nothing about. They're very good about explaining, like, oh, well, that so-and-so is probably up to, doing this, that, or the other, or suffering this, or having trouble with that. Just it's such a new perspective that makes us better, as well as making the incarcerated folks. So I don't even know how long we've been talking. 3 days, roughly. I don't know. So thank you so much for coming on. I'm not done with you because I have a question for you. But so, is there anything else you can think of before we get into the dumb random questions that you think we should know?
I think back to your question where you said, is there anything that I would tell the community or anything of that nature? I think one misunderstanding about when somebody comes to jail, that somehow that's magic motivation to change. So just because somebody is arrested and they come to jail, we're here for them. If they're ready to make a change, we're here for them to make that change. But just because someone's arrested and they come to jail doesn't mean they're ready to change anything in their lives.
Yeah, no.
So, and we're all human, and we're here when they need us.
I think that's a problem. I mean, with a lot of systems, is that if I went to jail, I know how it would affect me, but I can't take my perspective and put it on somebody else. Be like, you should be feeling the same way I would, or you should be scared straight like I would be. That's a great point. I think we lose track of it because not everybody. Some people are wanting to come to jail. They need to get in, get some clothes, get some some food in them, and then get back out. And that's just part of the life they've lived. It's not the same to everybody, for sure. So. Yeah.
Recently, as part of the Reentry, I got to travel to Florida for a conference. And one of the things that really stood out to me is, so fun fact, whenever I write Wednesday, I pronounce it Wednesday in my head.
That's how it's spelled.
Correct. So one of the things that was a reminder to me is community is common unity. Same thing like Wednesday. You identify as your common unity to people. And so when we're like, oh, you just got to change your people, places, and things, you're asking them to change their whole community. Their whole
and leave behind everything they've known, because it's failed them up to this point, but there's still love and loyalty in that place. So that's different. That's a tough one. So that's good. Great point. Common unity. Great. Now I'm going to mispronounce that in my head too. On February, every Wednesday in February. So here's the question I love to ask everybody, because and I just met all the new jail staff this morning and made them do the same thing. So baby jailers. So 3 things. What was your first concert? What was your most recent concert? And what was your favorite concert? Now, the answer, one show can be all 3. Or you can say, I've never been to any. But
I was afraid you were going to ask this question.
Oh, well, you can always
try to make something up. But
you can lie. Oh, you don't go to shows, do you?
Liar. Okay, so embarrassingly, I've been to, I think, 6 concerts in my entire life.
Well, you're only 24. That's fine.
I know, right? They were all the same person.
Okay, no. Let's.
And you're going to...
George Strait.
Close.
Garth Brooks.
Oh,
It's embarrassing.
that dude's a
So-
showman. I'll give him
He
that.
is,
You know, and,
he
and
is.
I'm a product of the '90s. I was down with some, you know, the black and the blue, the shirts, the headset.
Yeah, like 6 in my entire life, and they were all him. So
When was
yeah.
the last one you went and saw? Because he hasn't been out for a while.
He's been here not too long ago, like 5 years ago, maybe.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not a concert person.
Well,
I grew up
you
in
can't you can't go to see the same guy 6 times and say I'm not a concert person.
well, they were all like right together. So I grew up in a auto repair shop
I
on
remember.
80s classic rock.
Oh yeah.
I don't know any of the bands, but I could probably sing every single
Yeah.
song.
Oh yeah. That's I grew up in a house where we played oldies all the time, so 50s, 60s, and some 70s, and I can sing every one of those songs. But I couldn't tell you, you know, Martha Vandella and the Reeves or whatever it is. But Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. But yeah. Okay. All right. I'll let you off the hook. I mean,
So terrible.
It could have
I
been
wish I
worse.
was more interesting, but I'm not.
that's. I've heard worse answers.
I grew up in the 90s household, listening to 90s country.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Garth Brooks.
Yes. So my first concert, I think, was probably Shania Twain.
Well,
Let's
that's
go, girls.
yeah. That's what the staying power of that song. It's
I know,
it's like
it-
it's taken on multiple generations of life.
It
We're
has.
going to need to put some Shania on right about now.
that's right.
and
Exit us
fade
out.
Yeah.
fade it back out.
One of my favorite concerts was probably Kenny Chesney at Arrowhead right before my dad passed away.
Sure.
That was like one of the things that he wanted to do with my brother and I.
Go
And
see Kenny Chesney.
Kenny Chesney.
Okay.
Yep, that was his favorite. Like I said, grew up on 90s country.
Sure.
And so it was just a nice atmosphere. And I thought you were going to throw your pen at
No.
me.
I'm sorry. I'm scratching my back. I got bit by a mosquito last night.
And my most recent one, I went to Morgan Wallen and
Sure.
I can't even think of who he put it on with at
Yeah.
Arrowhead last year.
Gosh, so Arrowhead shows
Lainey
are just.
Wilson, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
Lady
yeah.
Wilson.
Oh, there you go.
Because I tried to convince her to go.
Yeah,
but Garth wasn't going to be there, so
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we can edit out the
Yeah.
Garth Brooks thing.
absolutely not.
So Arrowhead is it's a fun stadium. It's good
I've always just
environment.
found that it's just too many people. It's just so many people, and like 9 of them are sober. You know, so and I haven't seen those 9 either. So, but no, it's my wife is not a huge concert goer. She'll go with me, but the only shows that she's been to that she like set up was I think it's 4 or 5 times she's seen George Strait, and once to see Garth Brooks.
Okay.
But that was in 1996.
Okay.
So, okay. Well, thank you so much for being on. Thank you so much for opening the doors to what you do. I'm sure it's just there's the job that you do cannot be captured in a job summary or somebody just talking about it or even applying for the job. We can't tell you all the things you're going to have to do. But I know that we're deeply grateful for the work you do. But it's a little bit like seat belts. People will say, well, how many lives have seat belts saved? Well, we don't know because those people did not pass away, so we cannot calculate it. People will say, well, how much money have you saved the county? I have no idea. But I can tell you is that you have saved multiple days incarcerated. That when you multiply that by $238 a day, we are way ahead in money that we did not have to spend because of the work that you do. And so I'm going to be first in line to thank you for the work you do. But whether the community says it or not, they are thankful for the work you do. And I know that the county commission and the county administrator are extremely proud of the work you do. And I tell anybody who will listen about our reentry program because I think it should be in every jail, in every place, in every country. But they just aren't able to get to that point. But I sure am glad that we are. So thank you so much for being on. And that takes care of this one. We'll see everybody, all 9 of our listeners, back next week for another installment. We've got a couple up our sleeve that I'm really looking forward to. I think I may have a former sheriff signed on to come and talk through some history. But we'll have to wait and see if that works out. So until next time, thank you so much. I'm Sheriff Jay Armbrister. Thanks.